feel like it's a time-honored tradition for every generation to pit their favorite Disney princesses against one another, ranking their quality, and talking about what makes them unique and stand out compared to the others, whether that's between different movies and different generations, comparisons such as Tangled versus Frozen, or Golden Age versus Renaissance versus Revival, all that sort of stuff. There's heaps of posts and videos. So much content on those very topics, but we ain't doing that today. Today, I want to inject a dose of gender equality into proceedings and talk about our Disney dudes, and more specifically talk about the best of them. And that is of course Flynn Ryder, aka Eugene Fitzherbert, the heroic and dashing rogue from Tangled. And not gonna lie, this opinion, it's almost certainly coloured by the fact that Tangled is one of my favourites. So I do have a pretty obvious bias here that's gonna skew things in his favour. But you know what? I'm not even sorry. That's just the way it goes. Everybody has their favourites, and to me, Eugene clearly stands head and shoulders above the rest when it comes down to the quality of your Disney dudes. There you go, we could end the video right here, and that would be that. But that's no fun. My boy needs some representation. He needs some love. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to wax poetic about why Flynn Ryder is the ultimate of the male Disney characters, or, as I've said many times in this video already, the Disney dudes. Basically, the male love interest in your Disney film. That's the point of comparison right now. So, for a bit of catch-up, Flynn Ryder, aka Eugene Fitzherbert, is one of two main protagonists in the film Tangled. Early on in the film, he's a rogue, a scoundrel, a thief, who, alongside the Stabbington brothers, steals the crown of the missing Princess Rapunzel. After betraying his allies, he hides in an isolated tower, where he's attacked and imprisoned by the aforementioned princess, although at this stage she has no idea who she actually is, and she simply thinks she's a normal person who has magical hair. Anyway, with his stolen crown in her possession, he has no real choice but to lead her to the castle, where they release lanterns every year on her birthday, thereby fulfilling her lifelong dream to see them. Along the way, he continually tries to get her to turn back, only to fail again and again. And after a series of adventures and mishaps, they arrive at the castle, they begin to fall for one another, more bad stuff happens, her evil fake mother returns, briefly kills him, she saves him from death, yada yada yada. You've probably seen the movie. And even if you hadn't seen it, well, it's a Disney film. They tend to lean towards the happy ending. It's not like you're going to finish things on a bittersweet note, are you? So he survives, they end up together, they reunite with their lost parents, and all's well that ends well. Great movie, and like I said, Flynn Ryder, an excellent protagonist, and one that stands heads and shoulders above many others of his type. And there are many reasons as to why that is. As to why old Eugene is the top tier of Disney dudes. For starters, he actually has an arc. A story of his own within the confines of the overarching narrative. Early Disney prince types, they don't have this at all. And I would argue that even a lot of the Renaissance and Revival era love interests or male protagonists do lack that as well. Obviously there are exceptions, but many of the prominent ones, I feel like they change very little over the course of their story. They don't grow, they don't develop, they don't have a story beyond the actual plot. But Flynn does. Obviously there's the main story where he and Rapunzel go to Corona, they fall in love and they save each other, but then there's also the more nuanced story, that of Flynn Ryder and his return to simply being Eugene Fitzherbert, where the rogue slowly opens up to this naive and optimistic girl and decides that he wants to be better for her, to become less selfish. When we first meet the dude, he literally straight up betrays his allies for personal gain, and so he doesn't have to split the prize of the crown 3 ways. And he goes from that to willingly dying just to ensure that Rapunzel can't be held as a slave. Dying so she'll be able to live her life without being Mother Gothel's personal rejuvenation battery. A lot of the important male characters in these types of films, especially when they go the love interest route, they're usually, a bit surly, a bit grumpy at first, they don't give our heroines the time of day. But they aren't bad people. Eugene is rather unique in that he is a bad person when we first meet him. He sucks. He steals a memento of someone's lost daughter, then he abandons his friends, likely to their deaths. As remember later on, they are going to execute him for his crimes. And I feel like this would also be happening to the Stabbington brothers. Also, yeah, side note, Stabbington brothers, classic name. But yeah, they were totally going to get executed too if they got caught. And that's his intention, for them to get caught. That's a pretty dastardly double cross. I mean, maybe they would have done it to him as well, but still, Jesus. On top of that, he doesn't really have any noble intentions whatsoever. Unlike Disney prince heroes of the past, who are there to save the damsel and be the hero, the dude just cares about money and living a comfortable life for himself. And honestly, his line in the I Have a Dream song, where he just wants to live on a private island with piles of money and no interaction with anybody, my god, so relatable. Perhaps the most relatable thing anyone's ever said in a Disney film. I too dream of the sort of wealth that would let me buy a private island and stay there with minimal interaction with the outside. Oh, now I'm sad. But yeah, the point of this is that he actually changes. He changes his worldview and his actions reflect this. And I think this really does set him apart from a lot of other Disney men. Characters who either have no real arc as they're simply in the film to have a heroic character moment at the last second and save the lady, or are just always good and always nice the whole way through, and thus they don't really develop in that same way. So there's that. He's simply well written and unique, and he has a character beyond Rapunzel, beyond being a romantic interest, even beyond the story of Tangled itself. He has a life and a backstory that we get to explore as part of the film, which in turn ties into his love story with Rapunzel as well. And speaking of which, his romantic arc is also one that sets him apart from the pack. It doesn't feel forced or rushed, it's quite organic really. In a lot of Disney films, you have the princess and the prince / whoever, and after encountering some obstacles and drama, they fall in love, yada yada yada, they get married instantly. You got it. You know what I'm talking about. Here, yeah, it is rushed in that the love story takes place over the course of like a day, but at the same time you do see it grow and develop. You see the chemistry build, quite a lot actually. The romance has a proper time to shine, to feel like the story and the characters have actually earned it. The heroes don't get separated for most of the film and then come back together and suddenly they're married. Like I said, they actually have to work for this ending. And even then, they don't just jump straight into the happy ending for the sake of it. Eugene has a voiceover that describes how they likely spent some significant time just dating or courting. You know, whatever old-timey fairy tale people do, which I found doubly refreshing, and honestly quite in character for Eugene, because I don't see him rushing into this kind of thing. Once again, to me, this just helps set him apart from the rest. And furthermore, I find that his role sits in perfect balance with Rapunzel. He's one part hero, and she's one part hero. He doesn't usurp her completely as the valiant protector who vanquishes the villain, but he also doesn't get pushed to the side either. They're both very important to the ending of the film, and that's very refreshing. As often, it's an either-or scenario, but not with our boy. The dude just strikes the perfect balance, and really, I think that's the theme of the video here today. Flynn Ryder strikes the perfect balance as a character, in terms of his character dynamics and personality. He has a fully fleshed out story arc that informs his actions and opinions, which shifts as the story progresses, as his arc progresses. And then on top of that, his interplay with his romantic interest Rapunzel is probably among the best written of all our Disney dudes. Simply put, Eugene oozes this awesome energy that just makes him fun to watch, makes him engaging and exciting, and cements him as an all-time great. And so yeah, I'd better wrap things up before I start to ramble too much. And so with all that being said, Eugene's the best. Whoever your favorite is, unless it is Eugene, is not the best. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, I'm curious for your thoughts. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think.